You're streaming into a victorious Monday, Birds 365, because Eagles were a winner yesterday against the Indianapolis Colts, scoring with less than a minute to go up 17-16, getting the defensive stand. Well, I don't know if I would call it a stand, but big defensive play, sack from Brandon Graham late.
That was a stand.
Yeah, it was. I guess they were a little short on time when they completed the pass. I think it was about 14 yards to Pierce that got it out close to the 40-yard line. I got to admit, I was still a little bit nervous. I felt good about their chances, but I wasn't already chalking it up as a W. But Brandon Graham with a big late sack helped to cement the game away, and Eagles walk away with a win. As you heard me, you guys heard me say, love Paul Domwich. He's been one of our stalwart guests since we started Birds 365 a year and change ago. But I gotta say, I don't know that I've ever disagreed with Damo more than with something that he said today.
What's that?
The Eagles have a couple of good pass catching running backs. They've done a pretty good job of hiding it to me. Yes, Miles Sanders was very good as a rookie. Barrett, we're 2.5 years removed from when Miles Sanders was a rookie. Miles has not been a great pass catching back in any season since. And Jay made a real nice play coming back to the football, read it perfectly, drew the penalty. It was an easy penalty for the referees to call since he basically got tackled on the play. And I do want to give Miles credit for that. It's not going to go down in the stats as a reception, but it was a damn important play in the game. But Miles isn't a good pass catching back. And just me personally, I don't count what Kenny Gainwell did at Memphis as making him a good pass catching back for the Eagles. Last year, they threw it to him more than they have this year, but it wasn't like he was some kind of superior back. You got guys in the league who that's their forte, coming out of the backfield, catching passes. Do you think of Kenny Gainwell in that fashion, that he's a weapon out of the backfield, catching a ball for the Birds?
I think that was their intention when they drafted him.
Exactly, intention when he came out of Memphis. Intention doesn't count as production.
Right, and I don't think that they've really had to do that this year with the production you've had at Dallas Goedert. You didn't need him. The tight end's always a quarterback's best friend. You look at all the great quarterbacks that, throughout the ages. You had a great tight end that was paired up with him. I think if you look at it, who's the Green Bay is probably the only what's his name? Probably the only guy that doesn't. A-Rod's the only guy that doesn't have a great tight end that he can go to. But everybody else did, even Brett Favre had Chewy, Mark Tremor. You look back.
Tunyon's not a bad player. They better keep their eye on Tunyon next week.
Yeah, but they don't use him in the capacity that Brady played with Gronk, or all those great teams that have great quarterbacks had a tight end that they could throw to, and which helped them out. Tight ends is a safety blanket. It's his best friend. Even Troy Aikman had a great tight end that he could throw to.
Oh yeah.
You just need that great tight end, and we have it here, but it just so happens our all-star is out right now.
Quick question.
Somebody's got to get it going. Stoll's got to get it going. Calcaterra, whoever, Tyree Jackson. One of those guys got to become that safety blanket for that Hurts can rely in and say, all right, I can get it to him at all times.
I think this is just me. I think it's going to be more A.J. Brown, more Devontae Smith. And he threw a lot to Devontae.
That wouldn't be bad.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. Quez made the big play on the touchdown, so give him credit for that. And Zach Pascal with a good grab yesterday.
He could be that safety blanket for for Hurts also.
He could, but I just don't think it's going to be guys out of the backfield. Quickie quiz for Barrett Brooks.
All right.
10 games Philadelphia Eagles have played so far this year. How many catches do you think Kenny Gainwell has?
I'm going to say 8.
9.
He has 9?
9 catches in 8 games. Ooh, there's a weapon you need to tap into. All of 50 yards. So that's slightly above 5 yards per catch. Yeah, that's a guy whose numbers you want to increase and get him the ball that much more. He's had a lousy year for the Eagles. Yesterday,
Right.
got Miles off the field. They gave it to Boston Scott. They were ready to turn to him before they worked Kenny Gainwell.
Well, Scott's a good player. We kind of downplayed Scott's ability to play the running back position. They like him in the red zone. You know, he was their red zone slash back that they use on goal line situations. He has been that guy for him. I just need to see what they have going as far as, trust, if they are to put those guys out there in the slot, or maybe, give them an opportunity to be run Texas route. Texas route, number a little angle route in the middle of the field. They go out the backfield, go past the line of scrimmage, and then turn right back around, make himself available to the quarterback. That could be a dangerous weapon for them going forward, because once you make that little angle route, you make yourself available for Hurts right then and there. They can't really defend that because they're going to have somebody eyeing Hurts, number one, but then everybody else is in coverage. And when you sneak them up under like that, I really believe that they could use that. I don't know if that Hurts necessarily trust those guys doing it. That's the big thing. Do they trust him to do that?
But I'll give Jalen a ton of credit here. It seems to me like he trusts everybody. At no point do I ever say, after a play's been called and he runs it, that he looks around and or shakes his head and or second. No, he just has faith in himself, in his teammates, in his coaches and the like. I don't get that feeling, because not every quarterback is like that. A whole bunch of quarterbacks that have been very good in this league are ready, willing, and able, including the one that's coming in Sunday night.
Absolutely.
He's a Hall of Famer, but he's not afraid to show his emotions and or second guessing on the field. I
throw you under the bus
from Hurts.
He'll throw you under the bus in a minute, won't he? That's crazy. But you know what? You'll see that he's so good that players are going to play for him just because he's so good, and that he's he's got that Hall of Fame potential. People want to play for Jalen Hurts because of who he is as a man. People want to play for Jalen Hurts because they know he's going to put the work in that nobody else is. People want to work and play for Jalen Hurts because he treats those guys respectively. And, he won't throw you under the bus. That's one of the key traits that he has. He will put everything on his shoulders like he did yesterday. And that's the unique quality that he gives that a lot of players don't have. He knows that, he's looked up to as a leader. And he's taken that role ever since he got in. Even when Carson was here, he had that role on the team.
As you mentioned, he's almost got 2 full years as the starting quarterback for the Eagles now. A month at the end of the season, 2 years ago, all last year, and now 10 games into the season. So he's almost been the quarterback of the Eagles for 2 full seasons. You're right. He's not one guy can I remember him unfairly calling out, or, to use your phrase, throwing under the bus, which we all use these days, and we know exactly what it means. Hadn't done it once.
Nope.
Has he ever second-guessed a teammate and the like? And that's the reason why they're all willing to do what you're saying, which is they'll go to war for this guy because...
Or coach.
And you're right. Coach is either. I should have included that. He just backs his teammates to the max, which is exactly what you're hoping to get out of your quarterback. All right, Barrett, one of the things I always love doing when we get you on is talk a little bit more extensively about the offensive line, because that's your bailiwick. I got to be honest, as I'm sitting here in my man cave yesterday watching the game, I was surprised that the Eagles were getting beat at the point of attack. There were a lot of plays yesterday where their defensive line, with kind of no-name guys, I know when Ngakoue got the one big sack, but that was just a poorly designed play where Miles Sanders is the last line of defense. You keep it back in the block, that's a good thing. If they're chipping somebody after the fact, second man in, and Ngakoue had solo man-to-man, only Miles Sanders home to try and block him, and Jalen got blindsided on that one and coughed the football up. But I'm not even referring to that. I'm talking about mano a mano, our offensive line against the defensive line. They lost the point of attack a bunch of plays yesterday. When they needed it most in the fourth quarter, they won those offensive line battles. But did you agree with me that the offensive line yesterday in its entirety, the entire 60 minutes, that was not the Eagles' best offensive line game of the year?
I will say that, and I'll double down on that. Those guys up front, like DeForest Buckner, DeForest is a good player, but he was almost unblockable yesterday. He played at a high level yesterday. He kind of surprised me. Stewart played well at the point of attack. They weren't just moving those guys out of the way. They played well up front. What's the strength? Their defense is pretty good. And a guy, probably the second best linebacker this team has played this year. Of course, the kid from Dallas being number one. But Zaire Franklin is a man. Zaire Franklin was all over that field. He was playing at an all-pro level. That's why I think that they're able to go forward right now without Shaq Leonard being on the field.
Right.
This guy, he's playing at an all-world type of level. And he plays well with those guys up front, man. And the way they played that defense, and, you got to give it to Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley called a pretty good defense against this team. He just had a special player in Hurts to beat him. But, yeah, man, I mean, I like the way they play. Stephon Gilmore, I would have thought that they would have tried to put him on AJ man-to-man, and they did a lot of the times. And, that was a battle. That was a class of Titans right there. But for the most part, they used Rodney McLeod, former Eagle, in the box a lot. And he came and performed. They brought guys up, filled gaps with linebackers and safeties. They had a great game plan going in. And so it wasn't just the offensive line. It was also the others that had to block also. And that means the tight ends had to be involved in it. A lot of the times, when you put a tight end one-on-one with an offensive lineman, I can't see a tight end and a defensive end going one-on-one and the tight end really winning. And we didn't win a lot of those battles, which made it look like the offensive line wasn't playing well. But as a whole, it was going back and forth. Their best against our best, and we won the game. But that battle was it was not lopsided at all. It was not lopsided. Those guys came to play up front, and I think they really thought that they're just as good as our offensive line.
Franklin yesterday had 12 tackles. That's a lot of tackles.
He was everywhere.
He was all over the field. You're
caused
right.
that fumble.
I thought the drop off when Leonard went out was going to be pretty precipitous.
Yes.
Defense is pretty good.
Yep.
They've had good games before. Most of the times when they've come up short, like they did yesterday, was because of offense. And yesterday they go right down the field, scored their first possession, and then 3 field goals, including one missed one. I had the feel that was the first time I felt good about the Eagles' chances in the second half when the kid missed the 50-yard field goal. I said, all right, that's the first time the Eagles have actually gotten a stop when the team has gotten into their own end. And, oh, by the way, they had a little bit closer. I think that was the Milton Williams sack possession.
Yeah,
they had the 2-yard loss, or maybe it was a 4-yard loss on the Taylor run by Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That hell of a play, getting a safety into the backfield for a tackle for loss, and then they followed that up with the Milton snap.
And he came and made a play. That kid right there is going to make a whole lot of money at the end of this season, leading the NFL in INTs, and come up making plays like that. He's going to be one of those guys that, you're going to talk about those huge contracts. And for him to go and change positions entirely, he was a slot corner. They made a safety. That's crazy.
I don't think you and I have had this conversation. Oh, John and I have had it several times, and I'm admitting that I'm surprised that Howie Roseman hasn't been able to jump in to the action lane on this one. Not faulting him, but I'm just judging by his former performances as to what you think he's going to try and do again. The Eagles on defense have a ton of free agents at the end of this year. I can
Yes.
just start ripping them off to you. Hargrave and Fletcher and Edwards and White and Bradbury and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That basically you go through the entire defense and everybody's Epps. Oh, I can't forget Epps is also a free agent. Their whole team is a free agent on defense. This side of big play Slay and Son Reddick and Josh Sweat. That's it. There's your starters. All the other guys are free agents.
Yep.
If Howie called you, hey, Big B, I need some advice here. Assuming that they're going to sign market value contracts, not Eagle hometown discounts, not, oh my God, you got to pay through the roof because you desperately have to keep them here. Assuming they're all considered market value contracts, not an overpay, not an underpay. Who's your priority? Who's the guy that you want to hear within the next week? Howie Roseman has come to an agreement with an extension on this guy because the Eagles consider him an important part of their core.
That's tough, man, because it's essentially three guys that I feel as though are they have to be here. One being Javon Hargrave. We need him to be here. But even more than him, I would say Marcus Epps is a must sign because you can probably get him at fair market value. But the biggest piece that I really think needs to be in an Eagles uniform and be the guy that you cannot let go into the market will probably be TJ Edwards. Wow. He's that cog that makes that whole machine run. He is the spearhead of that defense because, number one, they call everything through him. Number two, he's one of the few players that played all of the snaps.
Oh, man. Every single snap.
All of the snaps. So I think he's a must-have. I would go him.
Yesterday, Eagle players who played 100% of the snaps. Isaac, Mailata, Dickerson, Johnson, Hurts, Kelsey, the entire offensive line and the quarterback played 100% of the snaps.
Yep.
On defense, Epps, Bradbury, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay played 100% of the snaps. That Jaker, TJ Edwards, only played 97% of the snaps, which means he came off the field for either one or two plays. That's it. Otherwise, he was out there every single play. And linebackers, that just doesn't happen. Exactly. All right, DBs, they're out there every single play. That's what they do. They don't swap out. There's offensive line. There's no changing. Barrett knows that. He used to play 100% of the snaps on many a game during his career. There are positions that lend themselves to substitutions and some that don't. And linebackers, one, you will see subs from time to time. 97% of the snaps, Edwards was out there yesterday.
And he's just such a player, man. It wasn't until last year that they really saw how good this kid is. I mean, I think he had a coming out party after the Detroit game of last year. He activated the linebackers from the linebacker position. He showed guys how to play the linebacker position. It wasn't until he started playing that Davion Taylor started playing a little bit also. But it was more so like teams would double team the D lineman and double team all the way back to the linebackers because the linebackers would just be sitting there. What TJ Edwards did was when he saw the double team, he would run downhill, knock the double team off so at least one of them could play. You know, you can't have one guy get blown back like that because you visually take us both off the run key because once they drive you back into my lap, I can't get off either way because wherever side I pick, I'll be wrong. But if I go down and hit the double team and make one of those linebackers come off on me, now you have a shot, one-on-one block that you can go in and now make a play on a running back that's going downhill. You can't do it when you got a double team because it doubles the guy back too far. You got to make a decision fast, and then that's when things really started happening for this defense when he started playing at that high level.
He did. He's turned it up. He's been a major cog to the Eagles' defense this season. And remember, undrafted free agent. The entire National Football League, including the Philadelphia Eagles, mind you, passed on this guy in the draft coming out of Wisconsin.
He ran a slow time, but sometimes you got to look at the optics. You got to look at what this kid is doing out on the field. He's been one of the top linebackers when he was at Wisconsin when he was a rookie. I mean, when he was when he was in school. He played so good when he was in him. It was him. It was T.J. Watts. They controlled everything for that Wisconsin defense, which was a good defense. Both of those guys really ran shop over everybody that they played against. So the optics, he could play. The 40 time, he could not.
That's why, and we have fun with it whenever it comes up. The whole draft process and evaluating talent and how much the combine factors in. And this is what I hate, the stopwatch. Oh, the stopwatch can dictate too many things. How about you look at the tape? How about you go back and watch what the guy did in actual games where DJ Edwards was a beast at Wisconsin, but God forbid he run a slow time in Indianapolis.
My guy, he was a workout warrior. You know, he Mike Mamula got drafted to me. It was Mike Mamula was the first round, and me and Bobby Taylor in the second round. Mumu went to the combine and ripped the combine up, tore it apart, and they drafted him the first pick. It was Ray Rhodes and the owner's first pick. The first guy they ever drafted was Mike Mamula. I was the first offensive lineman drafted by Mr. Lurie. You know, Bobby Taylor, the first DB drafted. I was the third player he ever drafted, you know. So sometimes a workout warrior, you know, and Mike had a great career, you know, and he had a pretty solid career.
Solid. I wouldn't say great. I'd say solid.
Yeah, solid career.
An overly critiqued career.
And that's it right there.
A solid career.
Exactly. You know, once you're the first pick, your expectations to play are it'll kill you sometimes, you know. So I'm not glad that I wish I would have gotten drafted in the first round. I'd have got a little more leeway.
No, you would have got a little more money, as a matter of fact.
More money, a little more leeway. But since I was a second round pick, I still felt as though I had to show people that I should have been a first round pick. So that's why I played as hard as I played, because I thought I should have been a first round pick, but they picked me in the second round.
And I can't believe I never asked you this, and if I did and I forgot, I'll apologize in advance. Your 2 40s in Indy, what were your times? Did you run faster in the second than the first? What were the 2 times you ran in Indy?
I ran a 5.04.
5.04.
And a 5.08.
With the 04 first?
Yes.
Okay. That doesn't matter, but some teams would go, oh, he went out and really showed us with the second one. Doesn't matter if you were 5. You were a 5 guy, and it got you drafted in the second round, which is
right. But when I ran at college, I mean, when I ran at my college, you know, when we had our had the NFL workouts at our college, you know, I ran a 4.98.
Oh, you did? You went sub 5.
Yep. Yeah, I ran a 4.98. But you always test like that because up in Indy is electronic, and it's harder to run electronic than it is to run with a stopwatch. So it was tough.
And it got you into the league. He is Barrett Brooks, filling in for John McMullen here today on Birds 365. J-Mac will be back tomorrow. He's coming back from Indianapolis today. A couple more things I want to get in with Barrett, including Nick Sirianni's going to speak again. He did after last night's game. Barrett got a chance to see it because he was on the postgame show on NBC Sports Philly. You could see the emotions in Nick Sirianni. Can he, like his quarterback, just put it behind him on a drop of a dime? Jalen Hurts is amazing in the way that he can do that. Nick Sirianni has to be able to do that here for this upcoming week against the Packers. And I want to jump around the league with Barrett. A couple of key games played after and or at the same time that will have an impact on the Eagles season around the NFL. So he's still got 40 minutes to go here on this Monday victorious edition of Birds 365. Stick around.
Don't wait.